Okay, I'm going to take you up and go handheld here for a minute. This is today's project. I have some new saddlebags for my motorcycle. And excuse the black rolling lines. Once again, I'm in my wood shop and it does not like the camera doesn't like the LED lights, but anywho, what I got here, I got some real nice Burley brand waxed canvas saddlebags. And I like these for the motorcycle just for daily use because they're not real big. If I wanted to go touring or I was going on a trip or something like that, I'd use something else. But just for, you know, daily use and running around, these are just fine. Now this is a waxed canvas, meaning it's going to be very water repellent. I'm not going to say waterproof. I think it's, you know, better to say it's more water repellent. Now, waxed canvas, this one, it feels a little dry to me. And I think it could have a little bit more wax applied to that. So that's what the plan is to do today. So I have all my supplies out here ready to go, and there's several different ways you can do this. You know, a lot of people will just use you know, paraffin wax and some beeswax, which I got beeswax here, but I also bought this. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's called otter wax, and this is made for this purpose. And all of this, it needs to be melted, obviously. So I got my little hot plate behind here. I got my double boiler, because you don't want to ever put wax directly on the heat, because, you know, you got a fire hazard there. So the trick is to melt this nice and slow. And then once you brush it on, and I got a couple different size brushes here. I'm not sure which one's going to work better for me. I don't want to be here all day doing this. I might just use the great big 3-inch brush rather than the 2-inch. But after you brush this stuff on, and it all dries out or sets up as, you know, wax does, and then you go over it with the heat gun, and it'll really soak into the fabric then. When you first start brushing it on the fabric, it's going to harden and it's going to look like crap because all the wax is going to be on the outside and it's going to be hardened and it won't actually be in the fibers of the material. Now once this stuff melts into the fibers of the material, it's going to be very, very waterproof or water resistant. These bags are really nice. I'm trying to get this open with one hand to see if I can show you. It also has a roll top on the top. So this is all going to get treated. Now once this all is all put together and the cover is over the top, you roll this fabric down and it becomes very, very water resistant. So that's the plan. I'm going to get the hot plate set up and I'll come back to you in a little bit here. Okay, I'm going to kind of do this in 2 steps, and this is going to take a little while for this to melt down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open these cans up, and I'm going to stick them in right in the water on top of the hot plate. Right now I got it on high, and the reason I want to do this is I want to melt all of the wax that's in these cans. Now, I probably shouldn't have bought this stuff because it was pretty expensive, but it's supposed to be really good. And it's kind of soft. It's not real hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these cans right in the water and get them melted down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump it into this pot so that I can add some beeswax to it. It's going to make it a little more stiff. Now this otter wax brand, this would probably be good if you were doing you know, like a jacket or something like that where you wanted it to be a little bit more flexible, but I'm just looking for long-term durability on my saddlebags here. So hopefully I only got to do this like once a year or something like that, maybe even less. We'll see how it goes. So right now the plan is to get these little cans melted down, and then I'm going to dump it in the pot and put it back on the double boiler, and I'm going to add some beeswax to it because that's going to make it a little stiffer. Alright, so I'll come back when something's happening. I started out with hot water, so hopefully it won't take too long to melt this down, and we'll see. Okay, so the wax is pretty much melted. I've already dumped 2 containers of this into this other pot on top of some beeswax. Now, this can's really hot from being in the water, so I just grab it with a pair of pliers and lift it out of the pot, and then I'm going to bring it over here and dump it in. Now, I'm hoping that I'm going to have a lot left over, so that if I ever do this again, I won't have to do it in 2 steps like this. So probably going to need a little more water in here. Let's see if that's going to get wet or not. Nope, need more water. Gotta have enough water to come up to the bottom of the pan. Okay, the pan's wet now, so that tells me I got enough water in there. So now this is going to be another slow process. I've got to bring this back up to heat now and melt this beeswax off, and then I'll stir it up. And the beeswax is just going to make it a little more firm and not quite so flexible. And I think it's going to protect these bags a little bit better. And after all, that's what this is all about. This is all about protecting the bags, making them waterproof, protecting the contents of the bags. So, you know, when they manufacture these things, they used waxed canvas, but it was just fabric, raw fabric. They don't treat it after. So this is kind of important to me, because now I'll be able to go around all the seams and, you know, apply it real heavy to all the seams, and then go over it with a heat gun, and it's all going to soak in really nice, and it should protect the bags really well. It's also going to darken them up a little bit, which that's kind of appealing to me. So I like this brown color. I like the small size of these bags. So now it's just a matter of waiting for this wax to melt. It's kind of like watching paint dry. So I'll be back. Okay, so I got everything's pretty much melted down now. You can see it's changed color a little bit because I've added the beeswax to it. Now the trick is, on your heat settings on your hot plate, is to you don't want like a roiling boil. You want it to where it just barely boils the water, and then even then you can probably cut it back a little bit. As long as the top pan, this top one here, stays in the water, that's the goal. And you see I have another glass of water back here so that I can add water to it as I need to. As it boils off, it steams off, the pot's no longer going to be in the water. So if you see your wax starting to thicken up again, then you know you need to add a little bit of water to it. Now, this little setup I got here with this double boiler and this hot plate, now this is something that I use for my woodworking. I make my own food-safe finishes for cutting boards and salad bowls and utensils and things like that. So the only thing I use this for is wax. So don't take your wife's double boiler and use it to melt wax. I guarantee you she won't be happy with you. So I just use this. I don't even know where I got this. I don't know if I got it on Amazon, if I got it at a thrift store, garage sale. I have no idea. I've had it so long I don't even remember. But I use it strictly for melting wax. That's all I use it for. So now let's see. Let me see if I can get this set up a little different. Okay, so this might give you a little better view of what I'm doing here. Now, this is going to look hideous when you first start. The goal is just to get it worked into the seams real good and cover everything, even this leather. Because once you hit it with the heat gun, it's all going to soak right in. You know, there's a lot of shoe protective things out there. I don't know what you would call them anyway, like otter wax or But the word is just evading me here. Mink oil, there we go. I just did a pair of boots with mink oil, and same thing. I put it on really, really heavy, and then they look like garbage until I hit it with a heat gun, and then it's soaked right into the leather and looks great. So the same thing's going to happen here. As you put this stuff on, it's gonna set up really quick. So here we go. But you want to work it into the seams real good. See how it's setting up? The whole thing is going to end up looking white by the time I'm done. But you want to work it into everything really good. Now, you can apply this stuff by hand. You can, in the cans of wax, it's I don't know what they soften it with, if they use linseed oil or something like that. But you can just dip a rag in it and apply it by hand. But man, I'd be here forever. This allows me to put it on really heavy and really quick. And this is what I want. I want it on here really heavy, because it's going to make it very, very water repellent. Hey, if I get caught in the rain on my motorcycle, I want it to protect the contents of what's inside this bag. So there again, hit this seam really good. So this goes pretty quick. It's just wax. It's not gonna hurt anything if you put it on a little heavy. In fact, it's better. Okay, so that's that. Now, the bottom of this bag, see if I can get it stood up, is leather. Same thing. Work it into the seams really good. Now, these Burley bags are really nice. They're very, very well made. They're very, very thoughtful in how they were built. I'm just giving them, a little bit of extra protection here is all. And you see I'm doing this on top of a piece of cardboard because it's messy. You're going to get it splattered around. There again, don't do this on your wife's nice new kitchen table or whatever, because I guarantee you she's not going to be happy with you if you do. But I have this nice little workshop that I work in that I can pretty much do anything I want. Okay. Working right around to the side here. Now you're going to see when I hit this with the heat gun, it's really going to soak in. And also with the heat gun, when you hit it with the heat gun, you'll see spots where it might be heavy, and you might want to spread it around with the brush a little bit or a rag. You're going to see spots that might be, maybe it was a little light and it didn't get covered as well. And you can fix that too. Okay, so moving right along. I like how on these Burley bags they give you this little tab that you can get your finger underneath to get the snaps closed, and that's a nice little touch. That's a well thought out design. So I hope you can still see what I'm doing here. I'm kind of just trying to fly along here. Dripped it on my hand. Ooh, that's warm. It's not hot. You don't want it excessively hot. Just enough to melt it. That's all you want. It's kind of funny because the beeswax has a real nice smell to it. Okay, now we're going to work around to the front here. Now I'm going to cover this whole bag. I'm not going to stop and do it in little sections. I'm just going to have at it here. is that you really want to get all your seams really coated well with this. You can already see when I first put this on how it soaks right into the fabric. So like I said, this is waxed fabric that they manufactured them with, so you know, they buy it, big rolls or whatever, waxed canvas, and then they cut it and sew it together or whatever, but it's not treated after everything is sewed together. So that's why this is kind of important, because this will hit all the seams and everything and make it more, I don't want to say waterproof. It's not going to make it waterproof. It's going to make it highly water resistant. Okay, so that's the main body of the bag. Now let's get this canvas, this flap coated. And this is a little bit difficult to do because it's kind of flexible. It wants to move around on you. And it's kind of funny is you could do this to a Carhartt jacket. Now I wouldn't add the beeswax, I don't think. If I did, I'd probably use some linseed oil to keep it a little more flexible. But you could actually do a Carhartt jacket like this and turn it into a raincoat. You know, you think about it, back in the day, 100 years ago, whatever, cattlemen, ranchers, anybody that spent any time outside, they would do this to their jackets to make it a raincoat, make it waterproof. They didn't have the fabrics and the technology that we have today. This smells really good with the beeswax. I wish you guys could smell this. Now my beeswax, it's not highly refined. I'm on a woodworking site, and I bought my beeswax from a gentleman that, he's a professional apiary, I guess is the word for it, a professional beekeeper. They take truckloads of beehives to, you know, orange groves and things like that, anything that needs to be pollinated. And of course, you know, the byproduct of that is, you know, they're doing us the bees. They're little busy bees. They fertilize all our crops so that we have food. And then in the process, they make honey and they make beeswax. And so, you know, they have to harvest that, you know, harvest the hives and things like that. And they get lots of wax and they sell off their excess wax. Now they don't, the stuff that I bought from this gentleman, it's not highly filtered, it's not super clean. It's beeswax. And, you know, being in my woodworking, I use it quite a bit. So I bought, heck, I don't know, I bought like 10 pounds off the guy. And it's awesome. I love using it in, you know, on my cutting boards and utensils and things like that. You know, I make a special batch of finish that I use for woodworking, and it's beeswax, mineral oil, and I add a little carnauba, I don't know how you say it, carnauba wax to it, and that just makes it a little harder, a little more long lasting on your utensils. Okay, so you get an idea, right? The bag is getting covered pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to shut the camera off for a little while, and I'm going to finish this up, and then I'll come back when I'm done with that. And I'll show you what the next step is going to be. Ouch. Just walked into the counter. Alright. So that's what it looks like after you get it all brushed on. Pretty hideous. But that's okay, because you're going to see in the next step, once I get the heat gun out, and I start going over everything, it's really going to soak into the fabric. Right now it's just hardened on the surface of the fabric, but it's not really penetrated into the fabric. Now when I do this, when I get the heat gun, you're also going to want to have some nice clean rags. I got some nice clean cotton rags here, so that if some of it is too heavy in certain places, you can move it around or remove some of it if you need to. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and get the heat gun set up, and then I'm going to show you what that's going to look like. In the meantime, the double boiler, I keep checking the water in the double boiler to keep the wax melted. So I'll get one done. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll yeah, I think I'm going to pause, and I'm going to get the other bag coated as well. You can see they look different, right? So yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to get the other bag coated as well, and then I'll come back and show you what the heat gun thing is all about. Okay, so here they are. I didn't do the back side of this because this is like a vinyl material. In fact, if anything, I'll probably be wiping off any excess wax that might get stuck onto that, but you can see they're coated really well. Probably too much, but that's okay, because once I heat it up with the heat gun, it's really going to soak in. Now the ironic part is I made a lot of wax. I probably used, I don't know, what are these, half-pint jars? I added 3 little half-pint jars, and I added at least that much beeswax to it, and I got quite a bit left over here. So I ended up with 1 can left over. So if I ever need to touch up or whatever, I've got something to touch up. Now, there's a little bit left in here. It's not much. There's some sediment in there from the beeswax, because like I said, it was unfiltered beeswax, so there's probably some bee poop. So I'll just throw that away. That's not a big deal. So give me a few minutes. I'll come back with the heat gun, and we're going to show you the next step here. Alright, so I got the heat gun set up. This is an old Milwaukee gun. I've had this thing forever. Let's see. I don't know if you can see this or not. The price on there say it's $19.97. It was bought from Ace Hardware. God, probably 40 years ago. I've had this thing forever. But it just keeps going. I don't know what a Milwaukee heat gun would cost now, but I guarantee you it's not 20 bucks. So, let's see if I can show you what this is all about now. Let's try it on low first and see what it does. You don't want to use too much heat. See it melting? Alright, I'm thinking I can go to high. Let's try it on high. And you want to keep it moving. You don't want to burn the fabric. Now you can see it soaking in now. Now it may end up being a bit much in certain places, and so I can always take this nice clean rag and wipe off the excess. That looks great. Just soaked right in. If you see any places that appear to be, it just melted the paintbrush. This heat gun's hot. It's a plastic paintbrush. I didn't get that edge very well. Alright. So now this is just, this step here is just kind of a take your time thing. Work it in. You can see how it's soaked right into the leather. So don't be afraid of coating the leather with it. In fact, there's a product on the market for boots and winter clothes. It's called Snow Coat. It's the same thing. And then you can apply it to leather. And then you're supposed to let it sit in the sun or sit next to a heat register or whatever so that it soaks in. Now it's got more oil in it than this. This has got some oil. That's what that otter wax is all about. It's got some oil mixed in it, probably some linseed oil, so that it remains supple and it doesn't get as crinkly. Yikes, that's hot. It does soak in really nice, so. Like I said, you can wipe off some of the excess if you got it on a little heavy, which is what I'm doing. So you could do this with a hair dryer too. And most hair dryers get hot enough. Most hair dryers are 1500 watts. This one's only 1200 watts. So you could do this with a hair dryer just as easy. But, hey, I got a heat gun, so I'm going to use it. There's never just one way of doing something. There's always many ways of doing something. And how I do things might not always be the best way or the right way. It's just how I do it. A lot of times I just utilize the materials that I have at hand, or the tools that I have at hand. Yeah, I put it on a little heavy, but that's okay. It'll wipe off. Not gonna hurt nothing. It's easier after you've applied it. It's easier to wipe off the excess than it is to go, oh, I don't have enough. and have to, you know, like me, if I've already put my wax in my double boiler pot away, it's easier just to wipe off the excess than it is to try to reapply it. But I gotta tell you, man, it soaks right in. Now, I'm probably not going to have to do this again for a long, long time. If ever. You know, I'm pretty sure that this is going to... Look, I don't ride in the rain. I'm a fair weather rider. I don't ride my e-bike in the rain. I don't like riding my motorcycle in the rain. And sometimes you get caught. And that's what this is for. That's what this protection is for. If you happen to get caught in it, well, it's going to protect what, you know, the bags and whatever you have in them. But, you know, in all honesty, I'm a fair weather rider. I don't like to ride in the rain. It's just not fun. I have done it. I don't like it. Look at it soak right into that fabric. It almost looks dry when it does. So that tells you how much more material that the fabric will hold. Now this is going to saturate those cotton fibers really well. You notice it doesn't soak in quite as well on the leather. Now once I do the whole bag and I get all the excess wiped off it, I'll go over it with a heat gun again and a clean rag, just to mop up the excess. Because I did put it on heavy. Probably shouldn't have gone so heavy, but that's okay. I don't think you can really screw this up. It's just a matter of getting the fabric, the cloth, the cotton canvas fabric to absorb as much of this wax as it can, and also to get it to creep down into the seams really good and seal those seams up really good. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but man, oh man, is it soaking in. And that's awesome. Okay, I've got a lot on here. I'll mop up the excess. No, I definitely didn't miss any spots. It's definitely coating everything really well. And like I said, the big advantage to the name brand wax that I bought is that it's got some different oils in it that keep it supple. And that's pretty good. Otherwise it would just be too crispy. Now this thing is going to look it's going to look weathered as you use it, and you know, it'll crinkle a little bit, and it's going to give it kind of like a vintage look, a weathered look. And that's okay, because that was kind of one of my reasons for buying these bags. Is I have on my Triumph Bonneville, it's going to look more period correct. Even though my Bonneville is a new bike, it looks like it's a modern classic. It looks like the old bikes. And so I wanted a bag that would match it. I mean, I thought about, I was just going to put a regular old leather saddlebag on it. And I thought, no, it won't look right. And so I chose these Burley bags. Burley is the name brand. And they got a pretty good reputation. See, I chipped it up because I want this wax to run down into this seam. Which it is. So this is like, apply some heat, wipe off the excess. Apply some heat, wipe off the excess. And you just keep doing that. Actually, it seems like it's taken longer to do this heat gun treatment than it did to actually put the wax on. That went pretty quick. But hey, I was just slopping it on there. It was no big deal. Now I want to make sure I get all the excess off. These are, even with this wax on now, like I said, it's gonna crinkle up and get some cracks in it, and it's gonna get that weathered look, which is okay. That's what I want. See if I can heat this wax up on the back side a little bit, just so I can wipe it off. Like I said, I didn't coat this because this is like vinyl on the back side. No need to coat that. Oh, there's a big gob. Funny, this rag is getting really saturated with wax, and it's still flexible, so that's a good thing. I don't think you'd want to use pure wax. I mean, some people do. I think that you do want to use some kind of oil with it, just so that it remains supple. I think that back in the day, in the 1800s, 1900s, when they, would make tarps and make waterproof tarps. before the blue plastic tarp was invented, it was waxed canvas. That's what you used for a tarp. But they also added some oil to it, or sometimes even some turpentine to keep it flexible. I don't know if I'd want to mess with turpentine because it takes a long time for it to dry. It's flammable. It stinks. This is, that wax that I bought. That stuff was expensive. It wasn't cheap. But it's the old saying: you get what you pay for. Look how this darkened up. I really like the way it looks. I did the same thing with my boots just recently. I gave them a good coat of mink oil. They were brand new, and now I gave them the first coat of mink oil, and it darkened them up, and I really like the way they look. I like this dark brown leather. You can see how it really soaks, and when you get the leather warm, it soaks right into the leather too. Yep, this rag is getting really waxy. I'm gonna have to switch rags in a minute here. You can see that it's really into the seam here. I put it on really heavy, trying to get the wax melted so I can wipe the excess off. I mean, it soaked right in. That's good. Alright, I'm going to pause the camera and finish this up, and I'll be back. Well, and there it is. Got one done. And there's still some excess wax, and it needs to kind of be wiped off here and there. But it feels really waxy. And I bet you it added some weight to it too. Because I coated it so heavy. But I may never have to do this again, or if I ever do have to do it again, it's going to be a far lighter application. You can see it's still heavy in some spots, but it'll rub out. Could take a heat gun and heat this up if I wanted to, but I think I'm just going to leave it be, see if it soaks in. Like I said, there is some oil in that otter wax, so it's going to remain flexible. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with how it came out. All right. Now I got to do the other one. Alright, if you like what I'm doing on my videos, like, subscribe, comment, ask questions. I love it all. So you never know what you're going to see on my channel. Could be woodworking, could be bicycles, could be motorcycles, could be mechanical things. You never know what I'm going to do. Like today, waxing canvas. Who'd have thunk? But it's not a difficult process. It takes a little bit of time, but you know, you take a day off and on a Sunday or whatever, and like I'm doing today, and wow, I just, you know, preserved my bags. They're going to be nice when I'm out on the road. If I get caught in the rain, I don't have to worry about the contents of my bags getting wet. So, and these are nice bags. These are really nice bags. This is the Burley brand, and I really like them. Not too big. I didn't want a big giant bag on my motorcycle. The only time I'm going to need something like that is if I'm touring, and you know, for everyday use around town, these Burley bags that's all I need. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Hope you liked the video, and like I said, like, subscribe, comment. I answer my comments. Alright, talk to you later. Oh, I almost forgot to do the obligatory, is it waterproof test. I'd say so. Looks waterproof to me. Like water off a duck's back, as they say. Look at even the cardboard work surface is so coated with wax that it's waterproof. Waxed cardboard. Who'd have thunk? Alright, that's it.